everyone, welcome to another brain-melting edition of ARG Presents. I'm Amigo Aaron, joined by a man who is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration with just a hint of cheese. The Brent.
I think I'm 90% filler.
Well, listen, someone had to hold down the seat, you know what I'm saying, man.
I got that covered.
So, if you joined us last week,
I think they did.
they may have, we spun the wheel.
We did.
We made the deal. And this week, we will be presenting games from the very old school, or second original handheld, depending on your point of view, the Atari Lynx.
Yes.
Now, Brent, what do you know about the Atari Lynx?
I actually knew someone who owned one of these.
You knew a guy that
yes.
knew a guy.
No, I had a direct friend that owned one of these, and I played and enjoyed. The screen, even back then, was a bit of a pixelated mess, just because of the resolution of the device.
Mm-hmm.
But I played it. I had fun. I believe I'm trying to think of the big game I played on it, and it's just out of my memory right now. But yeah, it was a fun time.
You know, the story of the Atari Lynx is sort of a sad tale. Really.
You know what? It actually, if you think about the history of video games, it mimics a lot of the history of video games.
Well, it's funny. A player is in on this story that we've talked about in an earlier episode. So let's just touch on the Atari Lynx. So the Lynx came out. It was released in September of 1989.
Yep.
September 1st, actually. And they ran this thing till about 95. By 95, the doors had come off, the wheels had come off, and it was skidding on the cement.
Well before 95.
It introduced at a price of $180 or $179.99 to be super technical. That's about 386 American dollar bill in 2018. So that would have been an expensive unit of any sort. But if you consider what it did, it was really in its own class at the time.
Yeah, the price tag on this, considering the things around it, was not horrible.
Right. The total units sold on this, you know, I've read several different numbers. The number that floats around is 3 million units. That's the number that's widely accepted. That much said, I've heard conjecture that it was slightly less or many more, but that's the agreed upon number without strong numbers. When it comes to game sales or unit sales, that in a precise way, I couldn't find any figures that were 100% perfect. So
I'm guessing that is counting all generations of the Lynx.
That's right, and those are worldwide sales. So
right.
3 million. With 3 million, it's not a ton, is it?
It's not, but that's actually more than I would have estimated.
Right.
By about 1 million.
Yeah.
So.
Now, when the Lynx debuted, Nintendo pretty much was running the console market in the United States and Japan. They had 90% of the respective markets, which is amazing. So Atari was trying to bounce back, and they saw this as their end. The fellow that was running Atari at the time, Jack Tramiel, the same guy that had ran Counter when the Vic was introduced, we talked about, was looking for an angle, and when he was approached with this item, he saw an angle to get back into that console market to get him a piece of the action. But stepping back a little bit, the Lynx was really developed by Epyx, which Epyx,
yes.
If you're familiar with their great library of games, they did all the games for starter. They did. We talked about Temple Apache or Apshall last week. They did that. They just did a zillion games. They had a huge presence on the C64, on the Amiga. The Impossible Missions were theirs,
Sword of Fargor.
And so, Sword of Fargor, that's right. And so, they sort of came across the idea of making this powerful handheld. Now, the two fellas that sort of spearheaded it, where you had RJ Michael and Dave Needle. Now, these guys were old Amiga designers.
Yes, they were.
To meet the worlds here. And of course, Dave Needle, people see his videos about Amiga on, from the old days all the time. He's a real big voice for on the Amiga, and so they began work on this handheld that they called the Handy.
Yes.
Right, the handy. So they shopped this thing around, and because they actually had a working device, it took them about a year to get it together, and which is incredible. And keeping in mind that this is a full color handheld that plays 16-bit games. This thing's no joke. And so they shopped it to Nintendo. Now the Nintendo story is a funny one.
Yes.
I've heard this a couple places. I guess when they went over to Japan to hard sell the Nintendo folks, they really were sort of jerks.
Yeah, well,
to Nintendo.
They did not go in with a plan.
Yeah,
they went in and thought they could just strong arm. I don't know if they weren't familiar with the Japanese etiquette or if they just didn't care.
I would wager I think they probably didn't know what they were getting into.
Yeah.
And you got to think, this is when Nintendo was at the peak of their power. They really came into their own, and if you'll recall, Nintendo ran the console market with an iron fist.
They did, like literally.
So when you stroll into Nintendo headquarters, you got all the executives at the long table, and then you go in there and start giving them the business.
Yeah,
it didn't go over well.
No.
And the story goes that after hard selling these guys for a while, Nintendo got so sick of these jokers that they went and fetched 2 boxes and brought in the original Game Boy and said, "Look, we got this."
Linked together, showing that it was because that was one of the big things that they were trying to sell the Lynx on.
Right.
It's like, man, well, you can hook up all these Lynx together and play multiplayer.
Yeah.
And Nintendo's like, yeah, we got it covered.
And so these guys were gone out of there. So they knew they were boned there, and so it's the old deal with the devil. They got with Jack Tramiel and decided they were going to work on the handy together, and Tramiel made them the old offer. This guy, if you know anything about Jack Tramiel, he had always had an angle.
Yes.
A diabolical angle. And in this case, he told the guys over at Epyx, he says, "Listen, we will set you up financially," because Epyx was running out of money to fund this project. Mm-hmm. We'll fund you financially for 60 days. And to get the bugs and stuff worked out, you got 60 days. So it went longer than 60 days, and it gave Tramiel and Atari leverage over Epyx. So they knew they had him. So Tramiel played a card that he played many times. Many times he played this card. He just didn't pay Epyx.
Yeah.
And so Epyx was boned. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to pay you, because you took too long." This is a card that they played a lot. In fact, this resulted in Atari picking up, chip manufacturers, plastic manufacturers. They just wouldn't pay these people. They would withhold payment. I mean, don't get me wrong. It ain't legal. It ain't right. But they would do this, and it was something they did over and over and over. Yeah. Tramiel did it at Commodore, and he did it at Atari. And eventually, Epyx was he said, "Listen, here's the offer. We're taking the handy. It now belongs to Atari. And we were taking everything." They didn't have a choice. They had to make the deal, and the Atari Lynx was born in the cauldron of business controversy and anguish. And as an added kick in the pants, the 2 former Amiga programmers and designers and hardware folk, they were advised by their lawyers, apparently, to stick around so they wouldn't get sued. So they had to go and work with the guy that screwed them.
Yeah.
So you got to give Tramiel some credit for his evil ways.
He's an evil genius.
And people kill this guy. Okay, and maybe deserves it, but I'm not a businessman, if you will, and business is different than real life. I mean, you've got to sort of be a scoundrel sometimes.
Well, successful people, more often than not, aren't nice people.
It really stinks.
In the realm of business.
Yeah, and just to get into Epyx a little bit before we close that down and move along with the hardware. Epyx was such a great game design outfit. And they had been around forever. And one of the things that really screwed Epyx was that when consoles were on the rise, they made a conscious decision to stick with the Commodore 64. They stick with the home computer market, and it cost them.
They stayed way longer than they should have.
It did. And the sad truth of the matter is, they could have been around, longer than they were.
Unlike most companies that kind of slipped down that hole, Epyx made good games. Not always. But
they almost always did.
But they made good games.
To put it in perspective, Epyx had 145 employees in '88. and by the end of '89, they had 20 employees.
Wow.
They went into bankruptcy. They came back out only with the Lynx stuff, and then finally in '93, they had 8 people left. They decided to sell off all the company, and an outfit called Bridgestone Media Group bought the rights to the rest, whatever assets they still had, and they gave those 8 people job offers. Only one of them took it, and then that was the end of Epyx. Now in 2006, the story rolls on. A British publisher, System 3, announced that it had acquired Epyx assets to release games like California Games and Impossible Mission and whatnot for newer
Right.
computers and newer handhelds and whatnot. So, and whether I don't know if they released, excuse me, I don't know if they released like a California Games or Impossible Mission for the DS or anything. And maybe you know, I don't know if they did that or not, but that was the plan anyway, to release that stuff. So, let's talk about the handy, aka the Atari Lynx, right now. I've actually held one of these.
I've played one. Yeah.
And they're a large unit. The cartridges in the back can be real difficult to get out.
Yeah.
Which is why they
had that little lip for a reason.
Yeah, they changed the way the cartridges are made.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've used both, and that could absolutely be a problem. This thing was a real decent little runner. I mean, it's actually a more powerful system than probably any of the other handhelds that end up coming around at the time. I've actually got I've got Sega's Game Gear. I do own that, and of course a Game Boy. We've all had one of those at some point. And while the Game Boy had leagues more battery life than the other two, the Lynx actually had a better battery life than the Game Gear does. And I can tell you, the Game Gear will go through some batteries. And then also, it was more powerful just from a hardware perspective. It was a very powerful unit that they stuck in there. As you mentioned, it did have link up capabilities. You could actually link 8 of these together, that's impressive. It also had, of course, it had a beautiful color screen as well.
It definitely had a color screen.
You did not think it was beautiful?
No. I mean, it was pretty pixely. And it had smearing.
It was backlit, dude.
It was.
Enough said.
Now, did you see where originally there were talks of making the Lynx with a black and white screen?
No, I did not read that.
Yes. They were going to use a black and white screen and a smaller processor package to increase the battery life and reduce the size of the console.
Was this to compete directly with the Game Boy?
This was before they knew about the Game Boy stuff. Yeah, this was just a part of their design specs. And ultimately, the color screen won out. There were a couple of developers, I think it was the developers, that really pushed it's got to be a color screen. That's the whole point, And then I'm sure the success of the Game Boy made them go, man, I think we should have went with that black and white screen. I think we would have been, although it's what made them different than the Game Boy. So maybe that color screen is the only thing that saved them.
I remember the first game I ever saw there was California Games, which is and Epyx developed some games for the system and was responsible for they sort of oversaw the software on the system. Beautiful game. It looked great. It looked just like a console would. Had good, decent sound. That's what made it beautiful. I mean, you could get a little over 2 hours on the batteries. That's not bad.
That's also a bit of a pipe dream. You almost never got that.
I mean, I never got to sit down and play with them, but that's generally conceived. That's usually what they say. A couple of hours. It's funny, when these were originally in development, they actually had infrared freaking networking. Yeah. But then they realized that was not a good idea.
Yeah.
If you walked anywhere near the beam, it would go away. They released a Lynx 2.
Yes.
And I believe they had it ready to go in 91. It was smaller because the Lynx was a large unit. It wasn't as large as the Game Gear, but it was still pretty large.
The problem
it depends on it was thick.
The problem with the original Lynx was it was so long it actually got uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I have played both versions of the Lynx, and the newer revision, way better.
The Lynx 2.
Way better. Yes.
The funny thing about the Lynx, it was one of the few systems that was available for use for lefties.
Yeah.
It was, you could actually use it both ways.
Just
So
turn the whole thing around.
I always thought that was kind of a neat angle.
Yep.
So unfortunately,
also, you forgot to mention Lynx 2, the battery life.
Yeah, it was better.
Double.
Yeah,
it could get. I mean, theoretically, they said it could get up to 5 hours. It wasn't going to get that long.
I believe one of the main reasons that it was the fact that it got a different screen. I think that was
it had chip changes too.
Yeah. So just like any other revision, but by this time, too little, too late, and it always bugged me. I'll be honest with you.
No, that's not true.
How do you figure?
When the Lynx 2 came out, they actually saw a surge.
A surge. They only sold 3 million total worldwide. There was not a surge of any kind.
But here's the thing:
the Game Boy was selling.
If they wouldn't have launched the Lynx 2, I think that was a poor name. But if they wouldn't have launched that, we wouldn't even be sitting here talking about it.
What would you have called it? Son of Lynx?
No,
you got to call it Lynx something.
No, you just call it Lynx, because people, in my opinion, I think calling it Lynx 2 makes people think that's a new system that's not going to play the Lynx games. I think you just call it Lynx, you put it on the shelf, and you keep rolling.
To keep confusion down, you just call it the Lynx U. And that's all you need to do. Just put a U on the end. People will know. So but the Lynx overall, I liked it. FYI, I thought, I do this all the time when we do one of these episodes. I'm like, I'm going to buy me one of these suckers. We can just set it right on the desk. Wham, bam. No, you're not going to do that.
No,
I tried to find one locally. Forget about it.
Yeah.
I talked to a local game guy. He said he saw one 6 months ago. They don't come around too much. And these things are pricey. I looked in you're talking well over $100 bill, somewhere in the $130 range generally, and your quality may vary. I know some of these things are looking kind of ratty, as well. So it's a real bummer.
There's a big third-party thing that you can replace your screen with an actual LCD panel. They've got kits for that. Something to mention on the cart styles, there were actually 3 official cart styles. Because the carts on these,
of them.
the carts on these are just like almost like an SD card. Imagine like a large SD card.
Yeah.
So when you put it into the system, and the system didn't have a manual eject, you had to physically remove them from the system.
Right.
The first carts were just flat on the back.
Yeah.
And you couldn't. I mean, you had to press against the back of the thing, which was pressing against the back of the unit, and slide them up. It was a pain. It was not unheard of people saying, I can't change games. I can't get that out of there.
Yeah.
Because they jam it in there so hard.
That was a real flaw.
So the next cart style was called the rigid. And what they did with that was, we'll get this flat back. We'll just put 2 plastic pieces that people can kind of put their fingers on, which was better. But the plastic pieces would break. That's how much it took to get these things out.
Right.
So the last revision was the curved cart, where the curve, and that allowed you to get enough leverage to actually pull the games out.
I had a similar situation with the Atari 7800, where it was really tough to get those games in and out of that thing, which is weird. You wouldn't think that, but it was. I don't know what it's an Atari thing. Everyone needs the old Odyssey handle. That would have been. We would all have been laughing.
Another thing that got sold a lot were screen protectors. Things that actually would, when you're done playing, these weren't like you would think of screen protectors today for cell phones. They weren't a clear plastic sheet. These were big plastic units that would go over your screen that would prevent scratching. And the reason for that is one of the things they did to try to make the Lynx cheaper was to give it cheaper glass on the front. So it was really prone to scratching.
Oh boy, that would explain a lot of these used units that I see around. When the unit came out, it was very well received. It sold very well in test markets. It was given good. It was given good numbers. 5 out of 5 by Dragon magazine, which Dragon's an old magazine I used to read back in the day. It was an RPG magazine that also covered video games occasionally, if you'll recall. And it always irritated me. I'll be on a personal note that these beautiful screened games, and I'll use the Game Gear and I'll use the Lynx as examples, got thumped by Nintendo because they were so much more attractive and backlit. I could not for the life of me figure out why the Nintendo game got so much love. Now, it was clearly battery life, and plus it had the games. which helped.
That.
But the Lynx had some decent games, and the Game Gear had some great games.
Well,
so
the problem with the Lynx was they could not get the third-party support that they needed.
Yeah.
And the reason why they couldn't get the third-party support was they couldn't move enough units. And the reason why they couldn't move enough units was because, and it's that whole.
I will say, if you look over the Lynx library of games, there's a lot of the same old in that we've seen a million times from Atari.
Yep.
Your Battle Zone, your Missile Command, that Miss Pac-Man, that stuff. So there you go. Here's something that we'll tie in a little bit later. In the 90s, the second half of the 90s, Telegames released a bunch of games for the Lynx, which we'll talk about how successful they were when we get to your game. So just for fun, I wrote down, because again, who knows what games are on the Lynx? We don't really look. So I picked what was considered the 10 best games, and thought we'd go over them here until you tell me if you heard any of these things.
All right. Well, I think I can guess the top 3.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the top 10 here. And this is no particular order. In fact, there's no official top 10. This is one I called together. So you got Miss Pac-Man. And by the way, you'll notice a trend on a lot of these.
Yeah, well, that's definitely what I would have said.
Rampage, which looked really good. Lemmings, the DMA guys.
I think that's a horrible idea.
Well,
but okay.
it was very well received. So I've not played it. Clax, another Atari. It's an Atari puzzler from the arcade. Ninja Gaiden. Did you know that one was on there?
I wouldn't have guessed that.
And apparently it's pretty popular. Robotron 2080, 480. That's another one.
That's another one. I wouldn't pick that one.
Of course, California Games.
That would I'd pick.
The technical tour de force that was Stun Runner on the Lynx. I'd heard about this one. This thing is impressive. Have you?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, this thing is. You're moving in 3D, brother, and it looks good.
Yeah, and it runs in an okay clip.
And I remember that I read an interview at the program, I believe, and they were talking about how he used every trick, to get it work. But again, it was the powerful hardware.
Well, they said one of the tricks with the Lynx is they could scale triangles really well.
That's what it did.
Yeah,
and it's really the first home system that had that sort of scaling ability. And then you've got Rampart, another. I believe Atari did Rampart. It was an arcade.
It was.
I never played that much.
Oh my gosh, great game! Don't play with the trackball. Play with the
a game that's available on every machine. Probably available on your calculator, remote for your TV. Chips Challenge, a very popular puzzler. Not with me, but people love it. I've never gotten into it that much. I guess I'm too dumb to play Chips Challenge. So we have one dead software house / hardware developer. We have one evil tyrant. With that backdrop, we will move into the game seamlessly. I think we're going to let you start the charge this week. Brent, tell the people what you picked.
I picked Krazy Ace Miniature Golf.
And who made that one, Brent?
That comes to us by the people over at Telegames, who also brought us the ARG Classic Urban Yeti.
You're kidding me. The same people that made Urban Yeti.
Now the difference is Urban Yeti was simply published by Telegames. This was actually developed and produced by Telegames. I did not know that going in. All I saw was a mini golf game. I thought, man, I love mini golf, and it's tough to screw up.
You loved zany golf, didn't you? Back in the day.
And I'm going to admit something here on air. My favorite trackball game is mini golf. It's not Marble
That's your
Madness.
favorite?
Yes.
Truth there.
Let me tell you.
What about
something.
Missile Command?
No, mini golf. And it's everything about the game. I love
that
the
opinion
sound.
Explains a lot to me.
Oh my gosh, I love the sound. I love the atmosphere. I love the sound effects.
I will say it's a good game.
Oh my gosh,
I will give you that.
And
what about the? Go ahead. I can name a million trackball games.
No,
better.
that is my absolute favorite mini golf. My absolute favorite trackball game.
You mean this one's not your favorite mini golf?
No, no sir.
No, please tell the people what you've done to them.
So, Krazy Ace Miniature Golf has a weird story behind it. It was supposed to release way earlier than it did.
What year did it release, Brent?
It eventually released in, 1993? I think was the release of it. But it never had, and again, I didn't know this when I picked it. It never had an official store release. It was
stunning.
It was something you could only purchase from telegames.
Uh-huh.
However, many people still consider it a part of the Lynx library because, unlike most homebrews, it came in an officially licensed box. So, when people who are trying to collect all Lynx games, this is a toss-up. If you don't have this in your catalog, some people are like, it's fine. It wasn't like all the other Lynx games, the release of it. And other people are like, no, this is a game. If you don't have it, you don't have all the Lynx games.
The real hardcore Lynx collectors, that they demand perfection.
I'm gonna guess
none of them.
Oh no, this is a huge scene.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna guess the ones that say you have to have it are the ones that already have it. So
clearly have not played it.
Well, you know how it is collecting. Sometimes it's not about the quality; it's about the quantity. So what is Krazy Ace Miniature Golf? The golf game, and I had high hopes when I fired this thing up. Even with Telegames' history with us on the show, having it load up and it had that logo and that real hard stinger hit and the logo spinning around, you're like,
no, that's not what I did.
Oh my gosh, I
went, and the music, it sounded like a 4-year-old banging it out on one of those Casio keyboards you got at Radio Shack in the 80s.
No, the beginning of this, just the opening splash was amazing.
The second I saw that logo come up, I knew we were in for rough seas.
Well, I think we can both agree it's all downhill from there.
Yes, the rotating logo is clearly the best aspect of this cartridge.
So, the Lynx, or Krazy Ace is not a game with many options. Your options
has no options.
Your options are to start with 3 friends that will hate you afterwards. It does let you pick your ball color from, I believe, 4 selections. And then you begin. And you have an okay controlling mini golf game. As in, to make the ball go a direction, not necessarily the direction you want it to, but to make the ball go a direction, it uses a line that you pull back using the digital pad, and when you have it the distance away, that's how much power it puts on the ball.
It's the zany golf line.
Yes. And that aspect of the game is fine. It's fine. Every other aspect of the game is horrible. It has bad physics. It has questionable graphics in areas. Some graphics are okay, but a lot of them are questionable. It has virtually no sound. And no
sound that features is annoying and god-awful.
It has the worst physics I have ever seen.
This makes Atari pinball look state-of-the-art.
Oh my gosh.
2600 days.
The railings on these mini golf courses have to be made of flubber.
I said they were like pinball. You know, they
like
bounce.
Actual solenoid
like bumpers.
Yeah, you can actually hit it, and if you get it in a corner or something, and the game decides just to bounce back and forth in between it, your turn can take like 4 or 5 minutes while it slowly loses power. Because for some reason, when the ball hits a rail, it generates more force than when it came in, and at no angle. It's just a random angle.
If you come down a hill and hit the rail, and then if it doesn't have enough momentum to go back up the hill, it'll bounce forever. You just sit there waiting for it.
If you hit a rail at a 45-degree angle, you would expect to come out at a 40. No, normally you come out at a 360-degree angle, straight back the same direction that you hit it. The course. I mean, this is Krazy Ace. Maybe if the courses are fun and interesting, we've got an okay game. There is one course with 9 holes, and I put that in quotes
because that's not true.
Because there are actually 7 holes where hole 1 and 2
repeat.
On
I could not
holes
believe
8
that.
and 9.
I honestly could not believe. I thought something. There were a multitude of times because we had to emulate this where I thought the emulation had screwed up, but nope, it was the game. I had to look it up. I was like, no, it's real.
So let's say maybe with all these problems, if you at least can sit down with your friends, pass the links around, maybe you still have an okay game. No. On hole 1, it has a clown head that you hit the ball into, and the clown head spins, again in air quotes, 90 degrees and spits your ball down the course. Well, if you're playing with other people, the head does not reset. It's still facing the wrong way for players 2, 3, and 4.
You're kidding me.
Now, there is a way to get around it. If you hit precisely where the opening was, it won't let your ball go through, but the head will turn back around so that your next shot can go into the head where it turns and spits your ball down the course, and then player 3 has to do the same thing again. Okay. So the multiplayer aspect's a little messed up, but maybe you can play this on your own. Try to get that par score maybe a little bit under. No, that's screwed up too. The par on the scorecard, it has four mistakes of where the par on the hole does not match the par on the scorecard. So they even failed in that regard. Now, I found a lovely gent by the name of John Hardy that reached out to the people at Telegames and said, "Man, my game's bugged. Like, you sent me a bum copy. I need you to send me a replacement." The Telegames reply was, no. Those are all features of the game. And he was like, no, wait a minute. That can't be a feature. Literally, the first hole is bugged, so everyone except player 1 is handicapped. They have to take an extra stroke, at least one, to turn that. He said, no. In the Krazy Ace world, when you're first, that gives you an advantage.
This is from corporate.
This is the Telegames guy. And he said, okay, what about the scorecard? You've got 4 scores on it that have the wrong par. And no, we have 1 that's wrong. And he was like, no, there's 4 that's wrong. And who cares if there's 4 that's wrong or 1 that's wrong? It's still wrong. Feature. It's a feature. Because no one looks at par. It's all about what you get on the scorecard. So the guy was just... he was really toting the line.
Yeah, no kidding. He was toking the line, too.
So, yeah. The game has some flaws. The game... We both played through it. We played it from beginning to end.
I did complete it.
Yep. Not a hard task.
No, it is hard. It's hard to not turn that sucker off.
I did find myself when hole 8 was hole 1. I was like,
that was real soul crushing. Yeah.
Can't even give me 9
that
holes.
Was soul crushing.
And the instruction booklet to this is a Xerox copy of a piece of paper folded up and put into the box.
Of course.
And he said in the manual, it says that the developers of the Krazy Ace golf course ran out of ideas and was unable to construct holes 8 and 9. So they just looped back around. That was their official stance on it. Clearly, this was a product that got, they didn't care. They just shoved it out the door. This is, unlike Urban Yeti, that has some kind of redeemable quality if you're, I guess, a masochist. This has absolutely 0 redeemable qualities. It is flawed in virtually every way. And it's almost impressive. It's almost impressive that a game could be this bad and be considered an official release for the system. So, let's talk reviews.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear these.
IGN gave this game a 6 out of 10.
You're kidding me. That is embarrassing.
And if you read its reviews, He was disappointed that holes 8 and 9 were copies of holes 1 and 2, but he thought it fits with the zany atmosphere of the game. Oh, I'm sorry. I would love to know how much that review cost.
I'd like to. Are you telling me you think Telegames paid a guy to give them a good review?
Yeah.
And he came up with a 6?
Yeah.
Didn't pay him much.
Defunct Games. Now, this is a review, a modern review. This is actually came out this year. The gentleman gave it a D.
But Are you kidding me?
But he was far less kind in his written review, touting only the graphics as being a redeeming quality of the product. I saw other reviews. Again, this didn't get much magazine or even mainstream website press because of the time it came out. I saw one person give it a 10%, which I think is a fair score. I think a 0% is when the game turns on and actually causes damage to your console.
That's right.
So I have to ask, Aaron, how much do you think this game sells for?
You mean to buy it today?
Yeah. If you go on eBay and you say, you know what, it's time for a little Crazy Aces in my life.
Well, unfortunately, being that you had to mail it to get it, it's probably a rare game.
It is considered rare, but I do not think it is considered the rarest.
I'm going to say $40.
All right.
How's that?
The last one of these that sold, which was in 2017, sold for an amazing $294.
Oh, that's the worst bit right there.
$294.
That one doubles me over.
So,
all right,
it is one of those games that I think Telegames knows what they're doing. I think they know what they're doing because I bet they're sitting on a warehouse of these things, and they just sell them out every once in a while. In fact, let me tell you a little story. Telegames sells this game today. You can go to their website and order it, and it's with shipping and all the VAT charges and everything, it comes to about $90. And people who are wanting to collect all the games, that's cheaper than $300. So a lot of people do it. However, they don't sell you the box anymore. They don't sell you, or this is what I've heard, because obviously I haven't done it. It just comes with a green EEPROM, a green PCB with an EEPROM on it that you shove in. It's not, the official release game, but they still sell it on their website. So they're kind of screwing people who think that they're buying new old stock when it's really repackaged stock.
So you're telling me that Epyx, this incredible software developer that developed incredible hardware, that went out of business because of shady business practices, they're gone.
Yes.
But you're telling me Telegames, developer of excrement on a chip, is still around?
Yes.
That is appalling.
Yep. They are alive and well.
That is absolutely appalling.
And if you have a game that you would like to get published, if it's a finished product,
they don't want it.
No, send it to them, and they will review it for distribution. I'm serious. I went to their website.
Let me talk about this game for a minute.
All right, go for it. Tell me how much you loved Crazy Ace.
I like me some mini golf as well.
Yeah.
In fact, me and the boy on vacation played some legitimate actual mini golf.
Yeah.
I was kicking it too.
You were excited when I picked this game.
So,
weren't you? You were excited when I picked this game.
I thought, okay, mini golf will be interesting.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, friend.
Yes.
I don't know how I'm going to bury you right here on the show.
Oh, okay.
I thought Urban Yeti was as low as you could go, but no. And what made you think it was a good idea to go find the guys that made Urban Yeti and then go get this?
I didn't.
When I go pick a game for this system, I actually go out and look around a little bit. It's like, what might be interesting? You could not have picked a worse game. This has got to be the worst game we've ever covered. It's the worst game on the Lynx by a long shot. When I hit that eighth hole and it was a repeat, I couldn't freaking believe it.
Yeah.
the holes in this, just to get I thought they didn't work because I maxed out my score in the first 5 or 6 holes because you have to be pixel perfect to get the ball in the hole. And I mean speed perfect and pixel perfect. And I was playing on the TV. I wasn't playing it on the Lynx screen. So God forbid what you're doing on that screen, trying to see what you're doing.
I actually didn't have that much problem. I scored 10 over par.
When I actually sunk a shot, I left in the air and I was stunned. I couldn't believe it went in. Right? The physics on this are god awful.
They're bad.
They're the worst.
Yeah.
They're the dirt worst.
Yeah.
The controlling the little dotted line, junk. I hated that. The ball looks stupid. The courses are horrible. There's one course with a cannon. That's the worst. It just shoots the ball.
No, it doesn't shoot the ball.
It will knock it backwards.
To paint a picture, there's a cannon that points to a hole that leads to the hole. That kind of gimmick. And all the cannon does is shoot at the first hole you have to get into to blow your ball away. That's the whole obstacle. Just repeated cannon.
And that one
blast.
comes up twice. I think that's hole number 2. This is, me and Boat did the Amigos. We've done this for a long time, and we've done this. We've been, I don't know what episode this is, but we've been taking. This is the biggest. This is worse than first-person pinball was. This is worse than freaking anything we've done. Top Banana is better than this. This is hot garbage.
It is.
And now, you should be chastised because the Lynx has all these great games, and this is what you brought to the table.
Wait. Now that's not a little bit. That's a little unfair.
No, fair.
I didn't
hate him.
I don't do research.
No kidding.
I find what I did to get this game is I did a search for exclusive Lynx games because I wanted to do an exclusive. This is an exclusive, by the way, folks. If you want Krazy Ace in your system, you have to play it on the Lynx. But I did a search for our exclusive games, and then I said, of these exclusive games, I want to do a sports game. Okay? Now, mini golf being a sport is obviously
you're really grabbing there.
And then I said, okay, of my choices, what do I have? And I said, mini golf. I love mini golf. And I honestly thought to myself, you can't screw up mini golf. Okay?
You thought that, didn't you?
I did. I thought to myself, and that
when Telegames was making this, you didn't have any doubts at that point?
No. I didn't see Telegames made it. I like to go in and I like to pick a game that I don't know anything about, or a game that I want to learn something new about. And I didn't know anything about this game, and I'm not going to apologize because I think it was an interesting story, but this game is possibly the worst commercially released game I have ever played.
You know the opening we have on this show, for those of you that watch the video, it's me strangling Brent. I'm sorely tempted to recreate that right now. You should apologize. It's horrible. And you're, by association, are a horrible man.
I accept that.
Enough of that.
All right, let's see. What do you got?
Get it out.
Let's cleanse our palate, if you will.
This is, you talk about the biggest disparity, the biggest gap between crap and greatness.
Yeah.
We're walking into that gap.
Yeah, I'll agree.
You suck.
No, that's not fair.
That's a bad Brent.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a bad Brent. Wrong. Get you with a newspaper. So, to switch gears, my God, let's switch gears, folks. We're going to look at the game I chose this week, which is Todd's Adventures in Slime World.
Yes.
Now, from that title, you think to yourself, oh boy, here's another one.
This is going to suck.
But no.
When you picked it, I thought, man, this is going to suck.
So, this was developed by Epyx, okay? Now, you see the disparity right there between Telegames and the people that actually made the console, okay?
Yeah.
I want to remember that.
I mean,
Epyx made a good slew of games on their own little handheld, including Blue Lightning, California Games, Chips Challenge, Electro Cop. Here's 2 of my favorites: Gates of Zendoncon and Zarlar Mercenary. Those, I don't know about those, but you can't have them all. This was designed by Peter Engelbright, and the artist in it, Matt Frisdale, which I believe he's a pretty prolific artist. This actually got ported to the Genesis, and apparently also got a port to the PC Engine CD or the TurboGrafx CD. I didn't get a look at that one, so I'd be interested
I
to
didn't
see
either.
it.
I focused totally on the Lynx.
what is Todd's Adventures in Slime World? This game. I gotta tell you again. My Lynx experience is minimal, but I had read people talking about this game, and so I had to give it a shot. The plot of this game is you are Todd, intergalactic stud, who is a member aboard a spaceship that goes around to in this case a slime planet, and goes down and explores a slime planet and looks for slime diamonds.
Yes.
Okay, now right away in this game, there is a difference between the two games is that there are options in this one, many options that you can take, and one of the things that's awesome about it is they've got the game split into basically like missions. Okay,
yeah.
I believe there are 9 missions, and the missions range from like the very first and easiest mission is explore the slime planet. That's all you have to do. Just go in and explore the slime planet. So, just to explain what the slime planet is, and by the way, there's an awesome cutscene to begin this where this huge ship comes down over the surface of the slime planet. It lands. It lets Todd out. Todd comes out and descends in underneath the ground into the slime planet. So, the slime planet I've heard this game compared favorably to Metroid.
Yes.
Now, I was not a big Metroid guy. But Slime Planet picked Todd as a very large character.
He's a good sized sprite, yeah.
And what they do in this game to render the Slime Planet is that they basically render the tunnels of the Slime Planet on the screen where he's at. Now there's darkness above and below. There's a reason for that, because sometimes you'll see passages that extend up or down, and they will open up and you can see them. You can actually, this game is one of those great games that you can hold the controller down or up, and the screen will slightly scroll up or down to let you know what you've got coming. It's very important in a game like this, because there are plenty. The surfaces, the underground caves of the Slime Planet are very cratery, and there's little pools in there and stuff. So you need to know what's coming up. Todd controls the joystick just like you'd expect, a gamepad up, down, left, right. The buttons in this are very cleverly done. So you've got your jump button. You've got your shoot button. Then you've got a sort of a select button to go through your equipment.
Right. And
then your other button is to use whatever you've selected. It's very simple, straightforward interface, and it works great. I had no trouble picking it up. So the slime world is represented as this green slime, and all the area is slimy. And then on top of the fact that it's just green and slimy, there are little pools of slime. There are even huge waterfalls of slime, which really look cool. The whole thing is rendered very well. Todd is rendered great.
Yes.
He's this sort of guy in like a suit, and he has basically like a full-powered squirt gun, effectively. That and you can get upgrades to it to have it squirt more water. It sort of squirts like big drips of water.
Yeah, big drops of it. Yeah.
So on Slime World, and really all the missions have this in common. They all take place underground, and with some variants. Todd goes around, and his goal is to get these slime diamonds. There's a couple different varieties. There's just like these regulation slime diamonds that when you pick them up, it gives you points, and it actually cleans you a little, and I'll explain that more in a minute. And then there are these red ones, but when you get those, they actually make you invulnerable for a little while, and they clean you up. So as Todd rolls through Slime World, he gets slimy, and this slime will eventually, if you cake enough under, to kill you.
Yes.
So he'll occasionally have to find pools of water to go and clean himself off. There's a little animation of him cleaning up. It takes a second, depending on how much slime you got on you. There are also pools of slime that will it won't kill you instantly, but it'll mess you up. And if you go in there and stay, it'll kill you pretty quick. So along the way, you'll come across various creatures, and I mean they've got all kinds of disgusting creatures in here. There's weird bugs and maggots and weird flies and all kinds of crazy stuff. The back of the cave will be ripped open in a few places, and they'll be squirting out slime. When you kill stuff, it shoots like a shower of guts and slime everywhere.
Yes.
And this will also get on you. There are some creatures that have red guts, and if they get on you, they kill you. You're done. I remember one point I got to a point where there's a huge pit, and at the bottom of the pit is these gaping jaws of a creature. If you fall in there, it'll eat you. So there's a lot of crazy monsters in this thing and obstacles, and Todd has to negotiate them with just the equipment he's got. So what are they giving? Well, of course, you've always got your map, and you'll need it because these levels are gargantuan.
They're huge.
They're gargantuan, and they scroll. The map only shows you the general vicinity of where you're at, and when I say that, I mean it's a huge vicinity, but I mean you'll extend off the screen both ways. I mean it goes way off.
And I mean we're talking 10, 15, even more in places deep. Yeah. Of lines on the map.
Right. They're big maps because this game the bottom line of it is to explore.
Yeah, it's all exploration.
You know, and but you always have your map you can bring up. Then you also get certain amounts of equipment. So you get a thing called a slime shield. You turn that on and it'll clean you, and it also makes you can go through slimy areas that you couldn't go through. It only lasts for a while. Then you've got of course there are upgrades to your gun. They sort of work automatically. Then you've got a little vial that you can dump in a slime pool, and it will clean it and make it water, so you can clean off it. Well, yeah. That helps quite a bit. You've got these bombs that you can set off that will blow stuff up on the screen. It's sort of like time bombs or whatever. And the equipment is you really do need it. Oh, a jetpack that comes in handy a lot of times when you need to fly around.
So well, that's kind of wonky.
No, I didn't have any trouble with jetpack.
I had problems with it.
One thing I will say is Todd, when you see close-ups of Todd, like at the end of the game and on the screen on the thing, he looks like this kind of California guy. But when you're playing him, it looks like he looks like he has a big blonde mustache. He reminds me of like a 70s guy, which I think that's better. They should have gave him the mustache. I think it looks cool. And Todd's sort of a cool-looking guy. He rolls up to there. Todd is super, super usable character.
He has swagger.
He can jump. He can climb. He can climb great, can he? He does a real good job of climbing. You could climb up and down stuff you wouldn't ever think you could do it. You can jump and then climb. He's sort of like a 70s Prince of Persia, basically. That's what it reminds me of. He just jumps around. But this game is no Prince of Persia. There's not that kind of
fluid animation either.
He will climb right up slime. Everything. He'll climb right up anything. Of course, he accumulates slime if you don't have your stuff on you. Again, if you get too much slime, he will die. If you get hit by certain bad guys, you'll take damage and die. Again, certain amounts of that red guts will kill you.
That's instant. Yeah.
As far as I can tell, you could fall as far as you want. I
didn't see any fall damage.
Yeah, I never died from falling. There are stuff that comes up out of the ground and tries to bite you. You know. Another thing that's awesome about this game is there are tons and tons of secret areas.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm not Commander Exploration, but I mean, you could get it. I have no doubt that you could get in these levels and just pick them apart and find. Even I found some. There's some places like that. I mean, there'll be crazy spots, like in the bottom of a slime pit. There'll be a secret area, and you'll fall through it. And you can climb back up. It's very similar to me. It feels a lot like actually exploring caves. Is what it feels like. I mean, they did a good job of setting the atmosphere in this place. It's got in-game music. It's got sound effects. Now the music's nothing. It's not like going to blow your mind, but I mean it's sort of fitting for there's a weird vibe that this game sets up. Didn't you feel that way with it?
Yeah, it does make you want to explore as well, because when you come to the end of a cavern, it might not be the end of the cavern. If you keep going, you'll actually walk right, not through the wall, but it will open up and you can keep going.
Right.
So you find yourself jumping where you don't necessarily think you can jump, and you'll, bounce around a little bit. There's a lot to explore. There are tons and tons of hidden areas in this.
Yeah. Todd will succeed on the first level by simply leaving the level.
Yeah, you just walk basically in. It puts you in, and you have to get.
And I actually beat the level. I don't know if you did.
Yes, I beat level 1.
It took me probably 20 minutes.
It took me about that long. No, it took me longer than that.
It was a heck of a roll. So I tried. So let me go over some of these levels, because one thing the game does when it comes up, and it gives you these different levels, but they're more like scenarios really than anything else.
Yeah.
So the easy level is the one you start on. You just go and try to get through it. And then you've got action. It's a harder level in terms of the bad guys, all right? Then you've got logic, and this is a level where your gun doesn't work, and you've got to basically avoid this stuff without your gun, which, my God, that sounds incredibly difficult. Then you've got suspense. That level, they give you a time limit to escape Slime World, all right? Then you've got combat. One thing I should mention about this game features multiplayer.
Yeah.
All right. And when I say it features multiplayer, it features the crap out of multiplayer.
It does.
8 simultaneous players via the cables can play at once. And a sort of a Slime World Battle Royale where everyone tries to escape but be the first one out, basically. And I would love to try this sometime, but I don't have the links, and I don't know anyone that has this game, and I don't have any cables, so it's going to be difficult. But it was the only game released for the Lynx that featured 8-player multiplayer.
Yeah.
I know the instructions say that you're the guy that's blind. So it says that to everyone. So I guess
right. Everyone else is a different color.
Speaking of instructions, this game has full online instruction mode. Did you notice that? It literally has an entire manual online. It tells you every bad guy. It tells you every scenario. It tells you what your guy can do. It tells you all the weapons. It tells you the monsters' names. It's just like pages and pages deep manual that's built into the game, which is awesome. I mean, that's great, especially for a portable game like that, you know. So I think that was an added bonus. I mean, these guys really sat down and put together a heck of a game. Now, I've heard people complain about the movement of Todd. He moves in a he's not the quickest mover. For me, the movement in this worked the same way that movement in Prince of Persia worked for me, because it echoes, you're in a slime world. You're in a slimy environment. And so the movement, to me, it adds to the whole atmosphere of the way the game plays. I think it's neat the way it works.
I mean, you can say that, but the animation is not fluid.
Well, I think it works. I really do. I'm not just saying that because I'm trying to. I think it. I had no trouble getting around. I had no trouble. Todd's really easy to control. He's way easier to control than the Prince of Persia guy. He's just a little loafier on controlling. But I mean, his jumps are floaty. You know, a little bit floaty. But you know, if you once you play it for a few minutes, you won't have any trouble. I should also mention one of the weapons you get is this thing that basically is a lure slime to a point. You know, it's like a slime lure, basically. Right. There's a few other things there, but I mean, you get your gun can get upgraded as you go, which is also nice. But the game is basically just traversing these many screens of slime. Yeah. Now, the screens do scroll, but they also, you'll go through doors, and when you do that, the whole screen sort of scoots across. Yes. You know, in the kind of your classic computer sort of way. But it works in this game because it sort of keeps what's over there hidden from you as you go through the door. I can't stress enough the exploration angle this game runs is really good.
It is.
I mean, I think, and for a game that came out in 90, so this was, you know, right, it was pretty much
very
in the height
of,
well, I mean, it's right there in the middle. But I mean, this game should have been the game that made the system. I'd never heard of this game until we researched them, and I can't figure out why, because it is a great game. I sat and played this game for hours, and just enjoyed the heck out of it. I thought to myself, man, you could take this on the road. It's amazing. This is a portable game, because this blows away a lot. I mean, you could have released this on any system. Now, I agree. The few ports it got, they revised the multiplayer, and they revised it downward.
Yeah.
It was split screen, and they changed the way the map works. You don't want an always present map either, because part of this game is having to open that map up, find a safe place to look at it. It really brings it home that you're in this weird alien world. And when you finally escape, your guy will trudge back over the ship, this cool ship, and it picks him up and it shoots off. And then you'll get the, you know, you defeated Slime World, the graphic, yeah, giving you the thumbs up and the little, you know, thing. I think they covered every base on it. I mean, you've got multiplayer, you've got great single player exploration, you've got 9 different levels, and these levels are radically different. I mean, they make it the game more interesting in different ways. They used the engine they had, and Roy thought of some creative ways. It's got the online manual. I don't think there's any way you could badmouth this one.
No, I enjoyed this game. But that is not to say it was flawless. One thing I had a huge problem with is it puts so many power-ups and so many gems and stuff in the world that it was overwhelming.
That was the first level, though. It wasn't like that on the other levels. That was the easy level.
Well, then that was a poor choice for the easy level, and it was sort of like that even after the fact.
But you can only hold so much as well.
But that's the problem. Since you can't just walk over the item and magically pick it up. You have to bend down. You have to stop at each item, press down on the control pad to pick it up. And sometimes you'll go over the item, put down, and it'll say you're full of this. And the items, in my opinion, were not graphically different enough for me to keep track of if it told me once, okay, you've already got enough of this, and then it showed up again later in the level, I'd be like, I don't know if I have this.
I tried to pick up everything I came across, and it would often say I had it. I'll grant you that.
But that's the problem. That is that you 100% hit it on the head. I tried to pick up everything, which slowed down the progress of the game, and that I didn't like.
Again, that's the first level, is the one that has all the items.
I agree, but also level 2 was, at least the beginning part of it that I played, still had tons of stuff littering the floor.
I didn't think that was that big a deal.
I liked that you could take your water cleanser and cleanse huge. There were a couple of rooms with huge lakes of the stuff that you had to have the cleanser to put it in the water to go through. I thought that was neat.
Slime shield.
The room I'm thinking of was probably too long for the slime shield. I just cleansed the water.
If you go real fast, you can make it.
I wish that the game was more like Metroid in that you picked up an item and then you equipped, that was part of your equipment now. I wish it had that aspect.
You didn't like cycling through the equipment?
No, I didn't, because I had trouble, especially like when you're in a hurry trying to get a slime shield on. If a monster, a couple of the monsters bounce around the room, and you see them, and you're like, oh crap, I want to put my shield on real quick, and it's tough to find the item you need because there's no going back. It's a one-way trip around the site.
And what controller were you using on?
I used keyboard.
I had no trouble. I played this on the Xbox, and I had no trouble doing that. I thought it was very intuitive.
It wasn't. No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you scroll and you go past the item you want, you have to keep going all the way until
I think you went faster than I did through the levels. I went slower because I wouldn't have time.
After I found that the best solution is when you go into a room and you see that sort of monster or something you want to use an item, the best thing to do, stop, turn around, go back, because especially where the screen scrolls, when it's off screen, it doesn't exist anymore. So you can get your items together, get them ready, go back into the room, hit your items, and then deal with it the way you want to. Right. But I don't like that. I want to just be able to go. And you're probably right. Maybe I was trying to go through it faster than the game wanted me to.
See, I'm not a Metroid fan, okay? And so I don't have any. I like the exploration of it. It sort of reminded me. It was almost like a modernized version of Hero, where you don't have. There's no time limit. I can go through and look at these caves.
Well, Metroid doesn't have a time limit.
Well, it's a much quicker paced game. And we should also mention, I forgot that the save states, the save areas, the spawn points of when you get killed are great. They do a great job of that. You never feel like you're getting penalized. But they're very plentiful.
They don't put you way back where they're at. Yeah,
so that's great. As far as I could tell, there was no limit on the amount of men you had. They could just play it till I never ran out of men.
I only died maybe once or twice the whole time.
Oh, I died tons of times.
Oh, really?
Yeah. At the beginning, I was like, man, I'm getting killed left and right. But I mean, I thought I liked the way you could see where you were going to stop. There's even areas in it where I don't know if you ever got this or played this, but there's an area in it where you see these little sparkly things, and when you go through them, it doesn't hurt you, but it destroys all your equipment.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I thought was cool. When you die, of course, you don't have to bring back anything but the map. Right. So I like the exploration aspect of it, and that's not something I normally dig.
I do too.
But I mean, you can't run through it like at breakneck speed. It's not that kind of game.
No, you can't. You're right. And the reason why we're having different level 1 experiences is because you can definitely be in areas that the other one didn't go through. There, like you said before, there are so many hidden areas.
Yeah,
it is crazy. And that was another thing I kind of didn't like. When you go, like I went down into a hidden area once, and I explored. It was a couple screen lengths of cave, and it had some items and blah blah, and a water hole. But there was nowhere else to go. I had to go back up to the ceiling.
Exactly what you're talking about.
And I couldn't find where to jump back up.
It's easy. I used to look at your map. I went right directly to it's mapped. I went right directly to the point. I know exactly what you're talking about. I had the same experience opened the map, looked at the little tunnel, and it walked under it, jumped up, and climbed right out.
See, I don't want to have to go to my map every time to find what I should be able to see because I came down from it. No,
It's a slime cave, dude.
I'm not killing this game. I'm nitpicking this game. Okay, the game is excellent. I would give it an easy 8 out of 10 for a game. And this isn't just a game on the Lynx. It's just this is a game I could sit down and play. Maybe if I was a little less pressured for time because I was pretty busy this week, and was able to sit down and say, you know what, I'm just going to relax with this game rather than how far can I get in this game. I would have had a better experience.
Well, I will tell you, this is one of the best games we've played on this show, in my opinion. I think it's a tremendous game, and the fact that this is out on the Lynx blows my mind. I just think it's a great game. If you think about the portability of it, I strongly urge you to dig up an emulator and give this a whirl. And if you have a Lynx, go pick it up. I mean, it is tippity top of the food chain, in my opinion. And I wasn't alone. The reviews were pretty good. Some of these are going to make you cringe. So, CVG, it's Computer Video Games, gave it a 90% on the Lynx.
Okay.
Now, EGM looked at the Genesis version, gave it a 6.25 out of 10. But again, I've heard the Genesis version, it's a little lacking.
So you're saying it's on par with Krazy Golf?
Raze, no, wait, I'm getting there. Raze gave it a 92%. Now, this is the one that really sticks in my craw.
All right.
IGN gave this 7 out of 10. It gave your game 6. So you're telling me this is one click back from the abomination?
That's tremendous.
I find that appalling.
That's tremendous.
So to close this one out, if you are looking for this on eBay, you can get it's very reasonable. It's funny, the games for the Lynx aren't too bad. I thought they'd be really bad.
$300.
Well, yeah. I said games. So 24 to 35 bucks boxed. Not bad.
Yeah.
$15 loose, and I saw a sealed copy go for $40.
Wow.
Sealed in box.
Wow.
So,
I'll have to say, having never played this game, or like you, I'd never heard of this game, this is a real winner. This is definitely something people should, if they have the ability, sit down, maybe have a brew nearby, or your favorite mixed
It's definitely
drink,
that kind of game.
And don't try to rush it like I did, because you won't have a good experience.
And if you have this emulated, sit back in your easy chair. It plays beautifully on the full-size TV without any problem.
Yes.
So, with all that out of the way, hit the music.
Go. All right.
Here we go.
What did we add to the wheel this week?
So this week, Brent, we added, and we've got some suggestions for wheel ads, but this week we stuck on a 1970s arcade.
Yes.
If that one comes up, we will pick a couple games from the 1970s arcade scene. Probably go into a little what was going on back in the 1970s in the arcade.
Yes, because it was a good time. It was an interesting time.
One thing I wanted to mention was a couple weeks ago we added the Action Max here. I actually saw an Action Max in a store yesterday. I couldn't believe it. There are people that still have these things. So if that comes up, we'll be good to go. I own one, so we're good to go. So let's fire this thing up and see how we do. Brent, I'm gonna let you do the honors this week.
All right, are we ready?
Get this thing down here real good. Okay,
you got a preference, Aaron?
No, I love everything all the time.
You know what? I can kind of do a repeat. Maybe get a 1970s 1-for-1 up here.
All right, go for it.
Oh, Slime World. It slimed the wheel a little bit and stopped us on Chat's Choice.
Brent, explain how that's going to work.
Okay, Chat's Choice. We are going to spin the wheel again and do whatever it comes up with for next week.
That's right.
However, in the comments below, comment what system or era of gaming you would like us to cover, and we will do that the week after as your request. We'll give you a week to get your choices together.
So this is your choice. So please, if you're watching this video, leave a comment under the video with some suggestions, and we will take the majority winner. And we look forward to seeing what you guys are interested in. So Brent, give it another whirl.
All right, here we go. We want to put it on another piece.
Nah. What's the odds that happens again? Good spin.
Oh, the Intellivision.
The Intellivision.
Excellent.
Now it's a good one. So next week, to recap, we will be doing the Intellivision. 2 games from that very interesting system. I own 3 of these, by the way. But let's get back to Chat's Choice for a moment. because this is the first time this has ever come up.
Yes, ARG first.
People power. This
Yes.
is power of the people. If you watch this show, you can give me, there are 2 different ways that you can send in a suggestion for the system. Number 1, we now have an email address, right?
Yes.
argpresents@mail.com.
MAIL.
That's right, .com. argpresents@mail.com. You can send us an email with your system suggestion, and if you want to throw in a couple game suggestions, that's cool too, but we're just going to go with the system, and we'll look at what you ask for. Now, we're going to let them, let's just leave it open to anything. We'll do anything you want, even if it's something we've covered.
Even if it's a repeat.
Even if it's something we cover, because we had some people asking about if we're going to come back to some, sure, and this is a good way to do it. So you can leave an email at argpresents@mail.com. Number 2, you can leave a comment under the YouTube video. We'd be more than happy to look those over. We will take all that information, see what the big winner was, and feel free to lobby for your suggestion. Leave a comment. Leave a couple comments. Get it over. We don't mind. And we will pick the suggestion, and next week.
After next.
Next week's on next week's show, after we do the Intellivision, we will announce what won the chat choice.
Yes.
So it should be good. So Roy, you've got 1 week to get those suggestions in. I'm looking forward to this because we haven't really got to do anything with the chat.
Should be fun. Should be fun.
Now, getting back to the Intellivision, we never had Intellivision when we were growing up.
We knew plenty of people that did.
And so you've played quite a few Intellivision games, huh? So what do you think? You looking forward to this?
I'm ready.
One?
Yeah,
me too. I'm looking forward to it as well. So that means next week we'll dip our toe in the pool of Intellivision. So until then, have a good, safe week and hit the road, Jack.
Have a good one.